In the early 1990s, Finland's economy collapsed so badly that unemployment shot up to nearly 20%. Experts believed recovery could take decades. But instead of collapsing, Finland made a few bold decisions that turned it into one of the most stable economies in the world. And the reason might surprise you. Imagine a country that sits on the cold edge of northern Europe, a land covered with forests, lakes, and long winters where the sun sometimes disappears for weeks. A country with a population smaller than many major cities. A country that once struggled with poverty, war, and economic collapse, yet today it consistently ranks among the most stable economies in the world. This country is Finland. Today Finland is known for something remarkable. Strong public institutions, low corruption, a highly educated population, world-class technology companies, and an economy that remains stable even during global crises. But this stability didn't appear overnight. In fact, Finland's journey to economic strength is a story of survival, smart policy decisions, and long-term thinking. It's a story about how a small nation learned to turn challenges into opportunities. Because only a few decades ago, Finland faced an economic disaster that could have destroyed the country's future. To understand how Finland built one of the world's most stable economies, we have to go back in time. For much of its history, Finland was not a wealthy country. For centuries it existed under foreign rule. First under Sweden, then under Russia. When Finland finally became independent in 1917, it was still largely a rural and poor nation. Most people worked in agriculture or forestry, and industrial development was limited. The country's geography shaped its early economy. Finland is covered by vast forests, so timber became one of its most important resources. Paper, wood, and forest products formed the backbone of the Finnish economy for many decades. But relying on natural resources alone was never enough to build long-term prosperity. Finland needed something more powerful: knowledge, innovation, and a strong economic system. The real test of Finland's resilience came during the 20th century. After World War II, Finland faced an enormous economic burden. The country had to pay heavy war reparations to the Soviet Union. These reparations forced Finland to rapidly industrialize. Instead of sending money, Finland had to send ships, machinery, and industrial goods. At first, this seemed like a devastating obligation. But in an unexpected way, it accelerated Finland's economic development. To produce these goods, Finland had to build factories, improve manufacturing, and train skilled workers. By the time the reparations ended, Finland had transformed from a largely agricultural society into an industrial one. However, the country still faced a major vulnerability. For decades, Finland relied heavily on trade with the Soviet Union. In fact, a large share of Finland's exports went directly to its eastern neighbor. This trade relationship helped Finland grow, but it also created a dangerous dependency. And when the Soviet Union collapsed in 1991, Finland suddenly lost one of its biggest trading partners. The result was an economic shock unlike anything the country had experienced before. Finland's economy went into free fall. Businesses closed. Exports collapsed. The banking sector faced a crisis. Unemployment skyrocketed. Within a short period, unemployment jumped to around 20%. Imagine that for a moment. 1 out of every 5 people without work. For many countries, a crisis like this would take generations to recover from. But Finland made a decision that would change its future. Instead of trying to rebuild the old economy, Finland decided to reinvent itself. And the first place they focused on was education. Finland understood something many countries overlook: the most valuable natural resource is not oil, gold, or timber. It's people. So Finland invested heavily in building one of the best education systems in the world. Teachers became highly respected professionals. Education became free and accessible. The goal was not only to produce graduates, but to build a society capable of critical thinking, innovation, and problem solving. This focus on education created a workforce that could adapt quickly to economic change. At the same time, Finland began shifting its economy away from raw materials and toward technology and innovation. And this is where one company played a major role in shaping Finland's economic story. Nokia. Today many people remember Nokia only as a phone brand that lost its dominance in the smartphone era. But in the 1990s and early 2000s, Nokia was one of the most powerful technology companies in the world. At its peak, Nokia accounted for a huge portion of Finland's exports and economic growth. The company transformed Finland into a global technology hub. It created thousands of high-skilled jobs and helped build an ecosystem of engineers, software developers, and technology startups. For a time, Finland became almost synonymous with mobile technology. But Finland did something important during this period. Instead of relying entirely on one company, the country continued investing in research, education, and innovation across many sectors. Universities collaborated with industries. Government funding supported research and development. Entrepreneurs were encouraged to start new companies. This approach helped Finland build a diversified economy. Another critical factor behind Finland's stability is trust. In many countries, corruption weakens institutions and slows economic growth. But Finland consistently ranks among the least corrupt countries in the world. Trust between citizens and government plays a major role in this. People trust public institutions to function fairly. Taxes are relatively high, but citizens see clear benefits in return through healthcare, education, infrastructure, and social services. This trust strengthens the entire economic system. Businesses operate in a transparent environment. Investors feel confident. Policies can be implemented effectively. And this stability attracts international companies and talent. Another key pillar of Finland's economic strength is its welfare system. Finland built a social safety net designed to protect people during difficult times. This includes unemployment support, healthcare access, education benefits, and other social services. At first glance, some critics argue that strong welfare systems slow economic growth. But Finland shows the opposite can be true. When people know they have basic security, they are more willing to take risks, change careers, start businesses, or pursue education. In other words, social stability can actually encourage economic dynamism. But Finland's leaders also understood the importance of fiscal responsibility. Government spending is carefully managed. Economic policies focus on long-term sustainability rather than short-term political gains. This discipline helps Finland avoid the extreme economic swings seen in many other countries. Another fascinating element of Finland's economic model is innovation. Finland invests a large share of its economy into research and development. Technology, digital services, clean energy, and advanced manufacturing have all become important sectors. In recent years, Finland has also become known for its startup culture. Events like Slush, one of the world's largest startup gatherings, bring entrepreneurs, investors, and innovators from around the world to Helsinki. This startup ecosystem has produced companies in gaming, software, artificial intelligence, and many other industries. One famous example is the gaming industry. Finland has produced globally successful game developers responsible for some of the most widely played mobile games in the world. These companies show how creativity and technology can generate economic growth even in a small country. Another strength of Finland's economy is its focus on sustainability. Finland recognizes that future economic stability will depend heavily on environmental responsibility. The country invests in renewable energy, sustainable forestry, clean technologies, and green innovation. This not only protects natural resources but also creates new economic opportunities. Many Finnish companies now lead in developing solutions for climate challenges. These innovations are exported globally, turning sustainability into a competitive advantage. Finland also benefits from strong infrastructure and digital connectivity. High-speed internet access is widespread. Digital services are integrated into everyday life. Government services are often accessible online, making administration efficient and transparent. This digital infrastructure helps businesses operate more efficiently and reduces bureaucracy. Another key factor behind Finland's economic stability is long-term thinking. In many countries, economic policies change drastically with each political cycle. But Finland tends to prioritize policies that support stability over decades rather than years. Education reforms, innovation investments, and infrastructure projects are designed with long time horizons. This consistency allows businesses and investors to plan confidently for the future. Even during global economic crises, Finland has managed to remain relatively stable. While the country has experienced recessions like every other economy, its strong institutions, educated workforce, and diversified industries allow it to recover more quickly. But perhaps the most important lesson from Finland's economic success is that stability is not created by one single policy. It's the result of many interconnected factors working together. Education builds skilled workers. Trust strengthens institutions. Innovation drives new industries. Social security provides stability. Fiscal discipline ensures sustainability. And long-term thinking guides economic strategy. Together, these elements form the foundation of Finland's economic model. Today, Finland continues to evolve. The country is investing in artificial intelligence, green technology, digital innovation, and advanced manufacturing. It is preparing for the challenges of the future while maintaining the principles that built its stability. Finland proves that size does not determine economic strength. A country with a relatively small population, limited natural resources, and harsh geography managed to build one of the most resilient economies in the world. Not through luck, but through careful decisions made over generations. The story of Finland is ultimately a story about vision. A vision that prioritized education over short-term profit, innovation over complacency, trust over corruption, and long-term stability over temporary gains. And that vision transformed a once struggling nation into one of the most stable economies on the planet. Because in the end, the true wealth of a country is not measured only by its GDP or exports. It's measured by the strength of its institutions, the knowledge of its people, and the resilience of its society. And in that sense, Finland offers one of the most powerful economic lessons in the modern world.